Hello everyone, I am very happy to announce that today we are going to start the series Mathematics for Chemists, which is a unique feature of this channel. But before we start our formal learning of mathematics, there is a question that we must have to seek an answer for, and the question is already written on board. Why mathematics for science? Because not just chemistry, mathematics is extensively used in all the branches of science. So why do we require mathematics to understand different branches of science? This is the question. So let me explain this to you with an example. So if I have to convey you some information, what do? I talk to you, right? But to talk to you, I take the help of a language which you and me know in common. Okay? Here I am using the English language. But when you go deeper into the semantics is the science or the study which is concerned with the meaning of words. Okay? When you go deeper into the semantics, you will understand that there are few human expressions or feelings that some languages do not have the word for, but the other languages have word for such human expressions and feelings. So the languages, they fall short of words even for some human expressions or feelings. Then how can you use those languages to explain the complex phenomenon occurring in nature? For example, take the help of black body radiation. If you want to explain the black body radiation in words properly, completely, you might fall short of words. But the Planck's law of radiation explains it in a very simple manner. So mathematics so far is the only known language capable of describing or explaining the phenomenon occurring in nature with a greater simplicity. So this is why we use mathematics in different branches of science. Now that you have understood the importance of mathematics, we shall start our journey of learning mathematics. Actually, I thought of starting this class with functions because this is the topic that you frequently encounter in physical chemistry. But these functions are not independent. So how do you express a function? You express it as f of x is equal to y, and this x belongs to some set 1 and y belongs to some set 2. Okay. Then that means f is mapped from some set 1 to set 2. So these functions are defined on the sets. These are not independent. The functions are always defined on sets. So I thought it's better to clear the concept of sets first and then move on to the functions. I have given 3 collections on board. Look at collection 1. Collection 1 has the elements blue, grey, yellow, green, red, and collection 2 has marker, pen, chocolate, cat, slate, flower, and collection 3 has the elements Hyderabad, Mumbai, Bangalore, Thiruvananthapuram. If you look at collection 1, it is the set or the collection of colors. Okay. So this is well defined, WD. This is well defined. And look at collection 2. It's some random collection of some objects. There is also one flower, a slate, animal. So there are so many different things in the collection 2. Therefore it is a random collection which is not well defined. And look at collection 3. It has Hyderabad, Bombay, Bangalore and Thiruvananthapuram. It is the capital cities of some states in India. So collection 3 is also well defined. Therefore, the collection which is well defined is called a set. So, set is a well defined collection of objects. So, collection 1 is a set. Oh, this marker is not working. Okay. Collection 1 is a set. Collection 2 is not a set. Not a set. And collection 3 is a set. Collection 3 is a set. So how do we define set? A set is a well-defined collection of objects. Set is a well-defined collection of objects. There are some important sets of numbers in mathematics that we must know. So first let us introduce ourselves to the very extensively used set of numbers. You might have guessed it by now. It is the set of natural numbers. Natural numbers. It is denoted by capital N. And the numbers start from 1. 1, 2, 3, so on, so on, so on up to infinity. So where do we use natural numbers generally? This set is generally used by our teachers when they enter into the class, because after they take the attendance, they want to tally the number of students marked as present and the number of students who are actually present. So what do? They start counting the students. So when a teacher is counting the students, what is she doing? She is assigning each number from the set of natural numbers to each student in the class. So that means she is establishing some kind of 1-1 and onto function between some subset of natural numbers and to the set of students in the class. That means you have to have a bijection, that is 1-1 and onto function between the set of natural numbers and the set that you want to count. Only then the set is countable. More about it we'll know later in our class when we discuss functions, okay? The second set is the set of whole numbers. Whole numbers, and it is denoted by W. This set is same as the natural number set, but there is one extra number in the set which is 0. And natural number set, it doesn't have 0 because this is the set which is used for counting, and counting always starts from 1. It never starts from 0. Okay. Third set is the set of integers. Let us denote it with capital I. And this integer includes, integers includes all the negative numbers also. So minus infinity, 2, minus 4, minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on up to plus infinity. So integers is a set of all negative natural numbers, negative numbers, positive numbers and 0. And the next set is the set of rational numbers. Any number which can be written in the form P over Q, where P comma Q are integers, P and Q are integers and Q is not equal to 0. Any numbers of this form are rational numbers. Let us take an example. Is 1 a rational number? Yes, because 1 can be written as 1 over 1. That P is 1 and Q is also 1. But P and Q are integers and Q is not equal to 0. So 1 is rational number. And another numbers are 1 by 2, 1 by 6, 3 by 2, 4 by 3. All these numbers are rational numbers. 6 over 7 and so on. The next set of numbers is the irrational numbers. irrational numbers. The definition of irrational numbers is very simple. That is, any number which is not rational is an irrational number. Okay. So irrational numbers are not rational. That means they cannot be expressed in the form of P over Q. Cannot be expressed. Okay. Okay. Irrational numbers cannot be expressed in the form P over Q. So what are the examples of such numbers? There is one interesting number. If you consider a circle, if you measure the circumference of a circle, it is 2 pi r, and the radius of a circle, the diameter of a circle, which is 2r. So circumference by diameter of a circle will give you a number pi, whose value is 3.141 something. Okay. So this number is irrational number because it cannot be expressed in the form P over Q. So pi is an irrational number, and if you find the digits after the decimal, that will go on and will never stop. It is a non-terminating number. So such numbers are irrational numbers. Pi is a number and the other number is E. Okay. E is also an irrational number. E is a very special number which is called Euler's number, and its value is 2.71 something, and it goes on and on. It never ends. So such non-terminating numbers are called irrational numbers. We are going to discuss this special number which is called Euler's number in one class, because we have to spare at least 20 to 25 minutes to understand this number. Okay. If you observe all these sets closely, you can see that all the natural numbers are contained in the whole number set, and all the whole number set, the entire whole number set is contained in the set of integers, and all these natural numbers, whole numbers and integers are contained in the set of rational numbers. But irrational numbers is a set which is not rational. That means the set of rational numbers and irrational numbers is disjoint. That means there is no number in common between the set of rational numbers and the set of irrational numbers. So the next set of numbers is the real numbers. Real numbers are used to measure the continuous quantities like length, mass, time, etc. Because length is continuous. If you consider this line and if you consider some random length till here, this can be any number like 2.032 and something, and it goes on. So real numbers are used to express such quantities which are continuous, which do not have breaks. Okay. All the numbers till now we have studied comes under this real number set. Okay. So all these numbers, including the irrational numbers, fall under real numbers. Okay. So real numbers is all the numbers that we have seen till now. So all these numbers are the subset of the real numbers. And now there is one important set of numbers which is called complex number. Okay. I'll rub this. So let us understand what are complex numbers. Let us try to understand what these complex numbers are. But before we start complex numbers, we must understand what is an imaginary number. Okay? Consider these numbers 1, 2, and the squares of these numbers 3 squared, 4 squared. And consider these numbers minus 1 squared, minus 2 squared, minus 3 squared, and minus 4 squared. The square of these positive numbers is positive 9 4 square is 16, and the square of negative numbers is also positive, right? So can you imagine one number whose square is a negative number? Or let me give you some equation. Can you solve this quadratic equation? X squared plus 1 is equal to 0. When you start solving this, you get x square is equal to minus 1 and x is the root of minus 1. And you say that the root of this equation is not defined. Or you say that there do not exist. This is the symbol for there do not exist, right? This is the symbol for there exists, and this is the symbol for there do not exist. You say that there do not exist any real roots for this equation. Okay. That means there is no number so far known whose square is a negative number. Then some mathematicians, they introduced an imaginary number I whose square is minus 1, and this I is nothing but root of minus 1. Okay, and these numbers were called imaginary numbers. Imaginary number. So what are complex numbers? Complex numbers are the combination of real and imaginary numbers. Since z is some complex number and it is of the form a plus ib, or you can write it as some 2 plus 3i, where a is 2 and b is 3. So this complex number has two parts. The first is the real part. The part which doesn't have the imaginary number I is the real part, and the part which has the imaginary number I is the imaginary part. Imaginary part. So these are the complex numbers which are the combination of real and imaginary numbers. You can visualize the complex and real numbers in a plane. So consider a plane. If you consider this plane, xy plane, two-dimensional, the imaginary numbers are represented on the y-axis and the real numbers are represented on the x-axis. So what was the complex number that we considered? It was 2 plus 3i, right? If you want to visualize this number in xy plane, it is, the real part of the number is 2, right? So I have divided this number line 3, 4, 5. So the real part is 2. 1, 2. This is the imaginary axis. So the real part is 2 and the imaginary part is 3. So the number lies somewhere here. Okay. So this way you can visualize the complex numbers on a real imaginary plane. Okay. This was all about the sets of numbers. We will take 2 to 3 examples and see to which category they belong to. Okay. Now consider the number 6. Is it a natural number? Yes, 6 is a natural number. Is it a whole number? Yes, 6 is also a whole number. Is it an integer? Yes, 6 is an integer. Is it a rational number? Yes, 6 is a rational number because it can be expressed as 6 over 1. 3 by q and q is not equal to 0. This satisfies this condition. So it is a rational number. But 6 is not an irrational number. Is 6 a complex number? It doesn't have imaginary part, so 6 is not a complex number. Now, if you see that, if you want to visualize this number sets, you will find that natural number is a subset of whole number because whole number has one extra element 0 other than the natural number. So if this is the natural number set, this is the whole number set. The natural number set lies in the whole number set. Now if you consider integers, integers have the set of natural numbers and the set of whole numbers as well. So set of integers is greater than the set of natural numbers and whole numbers. That means natural numbers and whole numbers are contained in the set of integers. This is the set of integers. Like all the natural, whole and integers, natural numbers, whole numbers and integers are rational numbers. So rational number is a set bigger than the set of integers, whole numbers and natural numbers. So this is the set of rational numbers. Now if you go to irrational numbers, how have we defined the irrational numbers? We have defined irrational numbers as the numbers which are not rational. That means the set of rational numbers and the set of irrational numbers are completely disjoint. So irrational number is somewhere here. Irrational number. What is the set of real numbers? It constitutes all the numbers including natural, whole, integers, real and irrational numbers. So real number is the set of all these numbers. Okay. The only important thing here is to understand that the set of irrational numbers and set of all these natural, whole and integers, natural numbers, whole numbers and integers are completely disjoint. You do not find any element common in both of these sets. Okay. So this is the visualization of the sets of numbers in mathematics, and we have taken an example of 6. You can take so many other examples and find out to which set those numbers belong to. But when one belongs to, if you find that when one number belongs to natural number, it automatically belongs to whole number, integers and rational numbers as well. Okay. I have a homework for you. Consider this number 62.38 bar. Now tell me if it belongs to natural numbers, whole numbers, irrational numbers or rational numbers. Okay, this is a homework. That's all for today. See you in the next class.